Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise and welcome back to From the Depths. And Happy New Year, it's 2023. This is the first recorded video for 2023 and I'm happy about that. So, following on from the breadboard stuff I've done, a number of people have recommended to me, apologies I don't remember your names, but you're all cool, breadboard suicide craft, and so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Here we have an unsuspecting victim, volunteer target, the Marauder, and incoming is a little nuclear weapon I built that is powered by bread, and it is wonderful. So, basically, why breadboard is so good for suicide vehicles is, well, for one thing, you want suicide vehicles cheap, and you want to keep their block count down low, and breadboard is good at both of those things because you can essentially jam in multiple ACBs worth of stuff into just a single block, which is fantastic. Alright, so that didn't kill the Marauder in one shot, but that's okay. That's why we spawn in more than one nuke. So, this thing is called a Baker Nuke just because it's got bread in it, and I love puns, and the most basic thing about it is just the thrust vectoring in it. So, arguably, a breadboard-powered a breadboard-powered suicide craft doesn't even need to be this complicated, but I like this thing because it's, well, versatile. It can go for just about any target. It can hit submarines, it can hit spacecraft, and it can certainly hit a Marauder. Kablooey. Also, you will notice, and especially with the Great Talon ICBM, nukes tend to flop into the water, so making them amphibious is actually a good idea. It's, in fact, something I've done before with previous nuke craft I've made. So less waffling now, and let's talk about this little thing. But before we get to the bread, I just want to show you the basic of this. So it's just covered in the skin of wood, just to give it some aerodynamics and also just some very basic protection. It's amazing how just covering it in wood blocks can mean the difference between it being killed instantly and it being killed slightly less instantly, so that is a good idea. Also, wood is cheap. So it's got two nukes in the front, and I'm just going to turn the paint off so you can see what's happening here. It is powered by a possibly not the best engine for this kind of thing, but I didn't want to use custom engines or anything like that. Steam engines, so it's just a non-exhaust based fuel engine. So it's got a single injector in there and it's got a crap ton of radiators. Thankfully, for something this size that has such a low power cost, radiators aren't making it too expensive. It's less than 10,000 materials and it's wonderfully versatile, and so that probably is worth it. It's got little roll thrusters on there, which, by the way, it is if you have two main thrusters on the back, you can do roll vectoring with them as well, which I actually kind of recommend. I kind of forgot about that when I was first building this. Don't be like me. Remember all your dirty tricks. We've got this main ion back here, which wiggles around a lot, and that's how it steers. In fact, I will demonstrate that to you right now. You can see it going wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. In fact, you can go here, and you can see the yaw and pitch is being controlled by the breadboard, and that is absolutely lovely. We've got ailerons, just so it can steer better in the atmosphere. We got target prioritization, because you do want your nukes to go for the targets they're good at dealing with. And we've got an extra AI routine card. More on that in a second. So, here is the bread. So to start off with, we've got these things down here, which is just controlling the steering. It's just controlling that ion thrust from the back. We've got our pitch command, and that goes through a multiplier to essentially get it to change the pitch angle to a degree that actually is helpful. Controlling that huge ion thruster, and it controls the pitch angle. Same with for yaw, and it's controlling the yaw angle, and the multiplier is negative because it's mounted on the back of the craft, and that's why that's negative, so it points in the right direction. So, here is the fun bit, these two behaviors here, because if you use just one behavior, your nuke might not do what you want it to. So, hopping over to the AI for a second, there are two behaviors here. Both of them are hover over target. I have renamed them simply to tell them apart. The first one, travel, is set to hover 500 meters above the target. So this thing basically flies through the air, gets to 500 meters above the target, and then the breadboard activates the attack behavior, which is hover 0 meters above the target, which means it face plants right into it, which is very convenient. The maneuver is set to airplane 2.0, because that way you can use pitch to reach target altitude, so it means that it face plants onto the target very nicely. And over here, this is important to... This screen is actually important for suicide craft in general, because you need to turn collision avoidance off, especially if you've got multiple nukes incoming. If they try and avoid each other, they'll probably miss their target anyway, and that's bad. And minimum altitude above land is 16 meters, because you don't... This thing is probably going to flop onto land anyway, but more importantly, this thing can swim, it can go under the water, and it can fly into space, which is very convenient. So it can attack pretty much anything it wants, except possibly land targets. That might be a little bit difficult. And okay, so how do you switch these two behaviors? So over here in the breadboard, starting off, we need to talk about these chosen behaviors. So you'll notice that the tooltip says sets a chosen behavior as active when the input is high. So what that means is that consistently travel, and you can select the behavior right here, consistently gets a constant input of 1 when a certain condition is set. That condition is when this switch has not been triggered. The threshold is 500, so when that is passed, and here's the thing about these thresholds, is that it doesn't matter if it's like drops below it or ticks over it, that is the threshold, which means you can potentially have a timer count backwards or something like that. This is linked to the target distance of the main target of the AI, and so when this crosses 500, which means that in practice, when it dips slightly below 500, this closes and the open value becomes 0. So that means that travel no longer has an input of 1, it has an input of 0, which is important because the attack behavior has a constant input of 0.5, which is less than 1, so this thing will prioritize travel as much as possible when an enemy is spawned in. Except when this same trigger is flipped. So target resistant, distant altitude, bearing. This threshold is set to 0.5 because it doesn't matter. This target just needs to exist. And then the open value is 1. So constant value is passed along and just needs to be higher than 0, and then it's switched to attack. So what that gets you is something that when it is more than 500 meters away from the target, it will set the travel behavior, which means it flies over to about 500 meters above the target, and then, once it dips below the threshold of 500 meters, it will switch to attack and then nosedive on it, as you've just seen. So, let us spawn in our friend the Marauder again, and we can see this firsthand. Let's do that, and let's do... Where is my nuke one? So we see here, gloriously unpainted nuke, and I'm going to set that to travel manually, because you can do that. So, paying attention to the numbers here, we are more than 500 meters away from the target, and we're currently zooming up and down. This movement, by the way, is specifically to dodge anything that's being fired at it. It generally works pretty well. There are some missiles and projectiles that can catch it, and you see right there, below 500 meters, we've triggered the attack command, and now we are spiraling down, and we are going to tickle the Marauder's butt, just like that. And that works really well. It took me, I don't know, a few hours to puzzle out all the individual pieces of this breadboard nuke, but once you've done that, you can reproduce it fairly easily, which is one of the great things about From the Dead. So once you've learned something, and once you actually remember it, you can do it again. It's great. By the way, you don't have to build these things exactly as I've done, because there's all kinds of magic you can do with custom jets, and like I said, you can use thrust vectoring to control roll. I've done a tutorial on that. I'll be linking my previous breadboard tutorials down in the description. So basically, like this, there's a whole world of possibilities here for you when it comes to breadboard nukes. And I just want to share one last final trick with you, which isn't specifically related to Breadboard, but it is just handy for these small suicide craft. What the hell happened there? Okay, yeah, you can also do cunning things to do with firing weapons, and that usually you can do that with ACBs, but you could probably do that in the Breadboard as well. I want to show you my trio of Baker Nukes, and this is quite simple. All this is that I have got these 3 little nukes. They're all set to be in the same fleet. This is the flagship, as you do with the motherships. And they're just set to have a 1 Baker Nuke each, which means you can spawn in 3 of them at a time, which is very convenient and saves a little time, whether you are playing the campaign or whether you are doing things for fun. So let us spawn in something fun. Crossbones is always the tempting target because it's big, but the Crossbones actually has pretty good AA, so that's no fun. And what the hell? Ooh, there's new planes and stuff. From the Depths did get updated, actually, so let's see, what's the Outlaw? Let's see if our nukes can catch it. Let's go have a look. I have not seen the Outlaw before. What does the Outlaw look like? The Outlaw has big guns, and it cannot lie. And it has missiles. It has a cram cannon or 2. It has purple missiles. It has crams. Interesting. How are nukes doing? Nukes are doing absolutely fine, and there's 1, 2, 3 are now in attack mode. Yay! And perfect, AI dead. Successful nuclear strike. Jolly, jolly good. Let's spawn in just a Baker Nuke again, so we can just chill. And that's basically it for Breadboard Nukes. Super fun, very useful for making suicide craft, which are just very nice and compact. You don't need to fill them with ACBs or something like that. And, well, but this particular one, actually, I want to show you just like how it can hit a submarine. Where is it? 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 White flare thing. It's over here. There's the Pontus. The Pontus is fun to zap with a nuclear weapon. Like I said before, you don't have to use ion thrusters with that. You can make it really cheap and nasty and use custom jets, which also saves having to build an engine. And you just have to make sure that the thing doesn't flop into the water if you do that. So, submarine is not safe because here we are, and splat! And we've blown it literally in half, and that is beautiful. Haven't tested this against a black current, but now that I've mentioned it, let's try it. This video is actually already much longer than it needs to be. Let's see if we can actually hit a black current. Somehow I doubt it, but it'll be worth it to find out, because this thing is so small that torpedoes actually have a hard time locking onto it. I think the missiles might be able to hit us, though. Yep, they did. Never mind. Never mind. Let's just hang out with our nuclear weapons. So, I thoroughly encourage you to try making Breadboard Nukes. It is hilarious and cool and fun, and all the cool kids are doing it. That is a lie. We're a pack of nerds making nuclear weapons in video games. But, in any case, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon and YouTube membership if you like. It really helps, and there's fun perks in for you. Thank you to all my current supporters, and a happy new year. Long may the... I'm not sure where I was going with that. There's going to be lots of content this year, so that's something to look forward to. Farewell!